Hello, everybody, and thank you so very much for clicking on 11:01 p.m. the 7th day of May and Election Day here in Indiana. Uh, Bad news for Trump. We'll get into that coming up here in a few minutes, and also we're going to talk at the end about why would anyone prep. Um, Valid question, and we're going to try to answer that. Again, thank you for being here. Please consider hitting the like, hitting the subscribe, hitting that share button, hit the notification bell so you do know when we are on, as we are right now. So let's get things started here. Before we get to the primary elections in Indiana, I want to point something else out here. Um, This comes from Stars and Stripes, and U.S. military has completed construction of the temporary Gaza pier. If you were with Chris and I on Friday night, Chris will be back this Friday, by the way, at 9 p.m. If you were with us on Friday night last, we discussed this, the construction of this pier, and the purpose of the pier officially is to be able to offload humanitarian aid to the people of Gaza. Um, my question was, in reality, is this pier to remove humans to get the people out of Gaza, because there's no way out other than the water. Um, Israel now has control of the absolute southern border and the Rafah crossing into Egypt, as we will show here momentarily. Um, and Chris said he thought it was the beginning of a more permanent, which beginning of what would become a more permanent establishment base for the need of beginning to export the oil and natural gas out of the Palestinian area. So either one of those is a very distinct possibility, and we'll see how it all plays out. But nonetheless, the military has completed the construction of that pier. All right. Um, Let me just tell you first, for those that are clicking on specifically to find out what the bad news is for Donald Trump in the Indiana primary. Um, at the moment, 89% of precincts have reported, and Trump is at 78%. He is the declared winner. But Nikki Haley, who has not been in the contest for about 3 months now, is still getting 22% of the vote in Indiana. Now she's been getting in the teens in Pennsylvania and in Carolinas, and you just wouldn't think 22% in Indiana. However, it's a massive number thus far. 127,820 more votes that could have went to the former president, but this is not a united party, and that leads me into, I was tossing back and forth which way I was going to do this, and it's kind of a natural lead in. Here's what happened when I went to vote today. There was an incredible long line of voters here where I'm at in Indiana. It took about 45 minutes to get into the poll to vote in a primary, which is kind of unheard of, but there's something going on. Obviously, there's something going on. Nikki Haley's getting 22% of the vote. There's something going on. And I witnessed it today standing in line. While I was waiting, I got there, and there was a guy and his wife. They got there right before me. So they were standing directly in front of me. And, the line filled in behind me. And I didn't look behind me. I didn't look in front of me. I did look in front of me, but I didn't engage anybody at any time. And you're not supposed to when you are in line to vote. Um, and you're definitely not supposed to do what's called electioneering. All right. I didn't have my phone with me because you're not supposed to have your phone. And this is what happened. There was a guy probably, I don't know, 2 or 3 behind me that said, look at all the people here to vote out the rhinos. And the guy right in front of me said, not looking back, said straight ahead, you Trumpers are the rhinos. You're the ones that are Republican in name only. You know, the rest of us are real Republicans. You're not about Republican. You're not Christian. You're not this. You're not that. You're just about Trump. And as he said, Trump, the head of that polling station, I forget what they're called. I used to know. I should know. But the chief elector, the chief the head honcho, the person running that polling place, came running out of one of the doors and said, "There will be no electioneering in here. Who said that? Who said that?" And the guy in front of me turned and looked at me, and I'm just standing there with my arms crossed and my nondescript baseball hat on, and I'm just standing there. And he looked back at me like he was going to, I don't know, accuse me, and I said I didn't say anything. And the guy behind, a couple people behind me mumbled, we don't need these elections. Which, you take all that for whatever you want, whatever it's worth to you. That's what happened. And it shows Trump's in trouble. I mean, 22% in Indiana. The last, Indiana did vote for Obama the first time around in 2006. I'm sorry, 2008. And Indiana hadn't voted for a Democrat going all the way back. The last Democrat was Lyndon Baines Johnson, who was incredibly popular because Kennedy had been assassinated. And other than that, Indiana doesn't, Indiana toes the party line. The problem is Trump doesn't represent the party, and a lot of people in the party agree with that. We're going to show you some. We're going to show you some examples coming up, and it's especially the serious Christian people, and there are a lot of those in Indiana. Just they just will not vote for Trump. Now they're not going to vote for Biden, but they're not going to vote for Trump, and that's a serious problem for him. All right, let's switch over to the bookmarks real quick and show you how serious the problem is. Even the former Republican Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan, has announced he will not vote for Donald Trump. He said, quote, "Character is too important to me, and the presidency is a job that requires the kind of character that he just doesn't have," end quote. Now, if you watch the program, you know that I've been telling people for a while now that neither Biden nor Trump will end up being president. That there's a big distraction going on here, and I'm going to show you why I believe that coming up. This isn't just going to be a slam Trump night, even though it could really easily be, especially with what happened in court today. And again, the performance in the Indiana primary, it's really stunning. 22% in Indiana they voted for Nikki Haley, who's not even officially a candidate and did not campaign. It's striking. The New York, now this is, you can't make this crap up. New York State Democratic Senator Kevin Parker, who worked to pass the quote Adult Survivors Act, end quote, which allowed E. Jean Carroll to go after Trump with accusations from 30 years ago, now says the law is unconstitutional. Why? Because he himself has a rape lawsuit filed against him. You can't make this stuff up. You know, okay, this is what everybody's going to do, and then all of a sudden, well, you know, hey, dude, you got to do it too. Just saying. Large wedge tornado as it moved over southbound 131 of Kalamazoo, Michigan. This came in 4 hours ago. We've had some massive bad weather in Indiana, in Ohio, in Michigan, and there's the possibility of more potentially coming throughout the night. So hope all are safe. The Kalamazoo County, how bad was it? The Kalamazoo County Fire Department personnel are being called to Portage, Michigan. And according to the fire scanner, quote, city has been decimated by tornado, end quote. These were some bad storms. This was from Kalamazoo, Michigan. I believe it's Kalamazoo. Hold on, let me make sure I get it, because it might be Portage. Tornado in Kalamazoo and Portage. So I'm not sure where the building is at, if it's in Kalamazoo or in Portage, but tornadoes have been going after FedEx buildings lately, it seems, for some reason. And again tonight. And let me get this to where we can see the entire screen. Now, there were people trapped when this video, there were people trapped in the rubble of the building when this video was shot. There you see an uprooted tree, trees uprooted, and you can see the path of the tornado just snapping trees in half. So that's some of the early footage from what happened this afternoon around Indiana, Michigan, and Ohio. A contractor was hired by CWR University to remove unauthorized graffiti, and the students tried to block him. And he just simply he painted over them, continued to paint the wall while they stood there. And now he's not sticking it under the mask. He's not trying to attack them with it. He's just doing his job. All right. This is one of those situations that regardless of whose side you're on, this is one of those situations that is a perfect example of create a problem, blame somebody else, play the victim, because the kids shouldn't have done this. It's against the law. Now they try to protect it, and they're not responsible for what they did. It's somebody else's fault. And now they're going to be the victims because they stood there and got painted over. They're also going to be heroes to their classmates, etc. But it's just, I'm only showing you this to show you where we're at. And I've had this for a while, and I put it up here tonight finally. Zion Oil and Gas discovered the faith-filled journey of Zion Oil and Gas Incorporated. With our free digital information packet, you can dive into videos, books, and maps. Click to learn more and embark on a deeper exploration. This is one of the companies that is going to be exploiting the oil and natural gas in the property that is now occupied by what is known as Gaza. Um, we talked about this guy a couple of weeks ago. He was driving 115 miles an hour down the highway in Dallas and caused a multiple pileup. He's a wide receiver from the Kansas City Chiefs, so they didn't do a whole lot to him. Marijuana found in the car, which is illegal in Texas. Not that big a deal. Nobody was killed in the accident or anything, but they could have been. Well, 6 hours ago, we learned that he's under investigation for assaulting a photographer at a nightclub in Dallas. So, my advice: do not draft him on your fantasy team this coming season. Individuals with misophonia affects about 20% of people, and the people feel anger, disgust, and a desire to flee when they hear certain sounds. Chewing and similar noises from the mouth are most often associated with the condition. I learned this today. I didn't know this existed, and somehow 20% of the people have it. Now, I'm not, I'm not one of them. I'm not, but that's 1 out of 5 people. I don't get angry, disgusted, or, if somebody's being obnoxious, chewing on purpose, yeah, but, just natural sounds. But I do know people that I understand now. This, this is, this impacts them. Just something to think about. The Fox TV host asks, "What's wrong with Congress? Why can't you secure the border?" The Republican representative says the problem is the Republicans, not the Democrats. My Republican colleagues are unwilling to secure the border. Now, if you are supporting Donald Trump because he's going to secure the border, what's wrong with you? How many times do these people have to tell you they don't want the border? Neither Republican or Democrat want the border secure. Only people wanting the border secure are you and me. Hello. Weather modification patents. Once again, for all of you that sent me emails about how I was a giant conspiracy theorist, and there was nothing but contrails. There's no such thing as chemtrails. That was a direct quote. No such thing as chemtrails. They're just contrails. Quit spreading conspiracy was the email. There are, I've got a list here coming up of all the weather modification patents that are in existence. And there are 52 countries around the world that are currently operating weather modification programs. Now, do you not think that nature is going to, there are going to be consequences from nature? And this goes back to 1891. So, it's not just, it's not recent. And I pointed that out in a couple of videos on here before. But anyway, it starts in 1891. A patent for a method of producing rain. Airplane spray mechanisms. Aerial and silver iodide. Hit the pause and you'll be able to see all these. We're already at 1977, 1983 relative humidity sensor mechanism, and we saw HAARP in there. All right. I think you probably saw HAARP go running by, as well as probably LIDAR. And we are now at 2011. So for everybody that thinks this is a brand new thing, chemtrail dispersion mechanisms all the way up to May of 2023, a coated chloride salt making and using the same, and we're going to see the effects. We're going to see the effects of this. We are seeing the effects of this, and we will unfortunately continue to. Hamas executed 3 Gazan civilians for stealing humanitarian aid before Hamas got to it. The question is asked: are you still Hamas over there at Columbia? The 3 people were beheaded, and they simply got to the aid first. I guess the instructions are don't get to the aid first. I've been waiting 2 days actually for this story to be debunked, and including Elon Musk, asking Elon Musk to debunk it, and it going through the community process. Thus far, it appears this is true. We've heard some strange things about our neighbors to the north in Canada, but Canada will be allowed to imprison anyone who has ever posted, quote, hate speech, end quote, online. What does that actually mean? Here we go. The bill is Harms Bill C-63. It will give the police the power to retroactively search the internet for quote unquote hate speech violations and arrest offenders, even if the offense occurred before the law existed. So if you said something that you didn't think was hate speech, you didn't know was hate speech, they determined it is hate speech, they can arrest you. The real shocker in the bill is the alarming retroactive aspect. Essentially, whatever you've said in the past can now be weaponized against you by today's draconian standards. Again, this is going on in Canada. Allegedly, it hasn't been debunked yet, as well as everything else that's going on up in Canada. You have to give explanations why you withdraw cash from the bank. We talked about this a few episodes back. The military and police are going house to house giving wellness checks and making sure everyone's ready for a great disaster. Palestinian Authority released a statement earlier today, 14 hours ago this came in which they requested the, quote, immediate intervention, end quote, of the United States to prevent a full-scale Israeli invasion against the city of Rafah in the southern Gaza Strip, which they claim will cause a humanitarian crisis. A lot of people are saying, and probably legitimately so, there's already a humanitarian crisis there. However, if you watch this show and you watch it regularly, you're a smart person. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for taking the time. And you know that we have shown that it is not the U.S. controlling Israel. Israel has bought our Congress. So the Palestinian Authority reaching out to the United States is basically meaningless, because Israel's already said they're going to go it alone. And if you can kind of follow the arrows in the direction we've been pointing, 98% of the United States Congress, both Senate and the House, are beholden to Israel, as well as the President of the United States, the person running as the Republican candidate for President of the United States. You don't think he gets AIPAC money? You don't think AIPAC's donating to Trump? And guess what? Bobby Kennedy too. Who will explain to Barron that his dad, it's not Will Likely. His dad has already chosen not to attend his graduation unless he gets so much pressure that he has to reverse his decision. Um, One of the big things that Trump was whining about was, I'm going to have to be in court. I can't go to my son's graduation. You know, this is how unfairly they're treating me, your favorite president, Bigley. And it was pointed out, well, you haven't gone to any of your other kids' graduation. Not one of them. Not a single one of them. So why are you whining? Well, the judge announced, okay, you know, that's legitimate. Court will not be in session on May 17th so that you can attend your son's graduation. What's he do? He finds out he's not going to be in court on the 17th. He schedules a fundraiser in Minnesota. I don't know. Is that the kind of family values traditional Republicans respect? No. That's why Trump's got a problem. And we all have a problem because, see, Trump people think, not all of them, but the most hardcore delusional Trump people think everybody loves Trump because they love Trump. They can't imagine nobody, you know, they can't imagine anybody not loving Trump because they love Trump. Well, just because you love something doesn't mean everybody or necessarily not even anybody else loves it. And not being able to see that is it's an awareness problem. And to say the least. And there are a lot of people that are in that position that don't see these arrows. That don't see 22% for Nikki Haley in the state of Indiana. She never campaigned here. She never asked anybody to vote for her, not once. Okay. And she's getting 22% of the vote. We're seeing Congressman Ryan, former Speaker of the House, come out and say he can't vote for Trump. We've seen a lot of Republicans. I show you on here, one of the most popular sites on Twitter is Republicans against Trump. Now, when Trump loses, if he does, they're not going to accept it because they all think it's got to be stolen because everybody loves Trump. And that's a problem. And we have to keep pointing out who this guy really is in hopes that enough of them will go, damn, I've been backing the wrong horse. And it's okay not to back any horse. It's okay to not want either one of them. If you watch this program, you know I made that perfectly clear several times. But he is a potential danger. And he's going to get put into jail for contempt of court. And that's going to be a problem potentially. If he calls on his most faithful, some of them will rise up, and that will create a small problem. If it becomes a bigger problem, then it's a problem for everybody, because there'll be martial law. There won't be any elections at all, and once you lose the freedom, you do not get it back, as we have seen with the Patriot Act, with 9/11, with the Twin Towers. Once you lose privacy, once the Patriot Act, which is basically the Spy on All of America Act, in case you haven't figured that out or you're not old enough to have known the history of this yet, once you lose those freedoms, you will not get them back. And that is the danger of this person that is only concerned about himself. And I hope more people will see that he doesn't care about you. None of this is about you. None of this is about his family. His family's not in court supporting him. His wife's not there supporting him. Nobody is there supporting him. That should tell you something. If you're a Republican listening to this right now, if you're a Trumper listening, you're not a Trumper listening to this more than likely. But if you're a Trumper listening to this right now, and you went to trial for something, first of all, If you weren't guilty, you'd want the trial to happen as soon as possible so you could prove yourself not guilty instead of delaying and delaying and delaying. And then saying, once trial does come, saying, look, they're making me go to trial right in the middle of election. Well, it's you created the problem. You created the problem by the constant delay. Now you blame somebody else and you play the victim. Okay? If you are a hardcore Trumper and you went to trial, like I said, first of all, if you're innocent, you want that trial to happen fast so you can prove your innocence. But regardless, if you go to trial, somebody's going to be there with you. Somebody's going to be there supporting you. And yet the person that you bow down and would kiss the toes of doesn't have anybody there. And that ought to make a statement. It makes a statement to me. Because I don't want Joe Biden. I don't want Bobby Kennedy Jr. And Joe Biden's not going to be an option. And we're going to show you that in just a couple minutes here. Hang with me. Once again, Republicans against Trump. I'm a former two-time Trump voter. For the first time in over 50 years of voting in presidential elections, I will not vote Republican. I refuse to have my strong Christian faith manipulated and distorted. The Savior I follow didn't rape and humiliate women. End quote. And I think a lot of people in the Republican Party feel this way. And like I said, it's going to be a problem when he loses. You know, these are primaries, and he's running against somebody that is not even campaigning, and he's losing almost 1 out of 4 votes. And again, when he says it's stolen, his diehard supporters do not have open minds. They cannot conceive that it was not stolen. All right? And there are going to be problems. It's coming. It is coming, one way or the other. That's why the last part of this video is important, and the last part of the message, and we're just about to get there. This footage came in this morning. It shows one of the main battle tanks of the Israeli Defense Forces. Basically, you can see it lower the gun and ram the welcome to Gaza sign at the border. This is very symbolic. This is destroying the first and beginning of the destruction of any reference to Gaza, because there will be no more Gaza. There will be a renamed, the area will be renamed, and there will be Israeli settlements there. There will be Israeli hotels there. There will be Israeli, British, and United States oil and natural gas companies there. And this is the symbolic first gesture, taking down the Gaza sign. The Biden administration reportedly delayed the sale of 6,500 Joint Direct Attack Munition, or JDAM, kits to Israel, about $260 million worth of munitions, and that is due to United States trying to pressure Israel on full-scale ground invasion, against a full-scale ground invasion, and Israel's made it pretty clear that it really doesn't matter. Stormy Daniels testified earlier today in the Trump trial. We're not going to go through all of that. She said the sex was done in missionary position. It was done without protection, and it did not last very long. She also said that Trump, as we see here, Trump showed her a photo of Melania. And when Stormy saw it, she said she was beautiful. And Trump responded, "We don't even sleep in the same room." Trump also told her that she reminded him of his daughter. All right. Past couple of nights, I've been talking about what happens when the classes end. What happens when summer break starts? What happens when school's over? What happens when kids go back to the communities they come from? What happens if it's an Ivy League kids going back to their parents who are Trump supporters and telling those parents that they've converted to Islam and the parents are now infidels? You don't think it's a concern. Well, George Washington University now begging DC police for help as student protesters start calling for the beheading of the school president and trustees. By the way, I don't have footage of this, but I was notified of this. There is a student protest currently trying to surround the house of the school president of George Washington University right now. Things are going to explode on campuses. It's not done yet. It's coming. I mean, it's getting to where summer break's coming. What's going to happen? Well, there's still a couple of weeks. Things are going to escalate in these next couple of weeks, and there will be bombings on the campuses. There will be student upon student violence on the campuses. And it's being orchestrated by somebody. And I wish it wasn't the case. I wish none of this was the case because I've got grandbabies. I don't tell you these things I'm seeing because I want them to come true. I tell you these things as, what I see things pointing towards so that maybe enough of us somehow can all come together and stop it. That's probably incredibly delusional, but that's why we do this. All right, this is the next post is from Gavin Newsom. Gavin is the governor of California. Gavin is the person I said was going to be Democratic presidential candidate, and that it was going to happen if they can keep Joe propped up. It's going to happen after the Democratic National Convention, which is in Chicago this year. And both the Democratic and Republican conventions, there are going to be violence at the conventions. There's going to be chaos. The Democrats are trying to keep Biden propped up until the convention. He can accept the nomination. And then only after accepting the nomination, I'm not saying right after the convention, I'm not saying during the convention, but a short time after the convention ends, Biden will announce that his health will not allow him to serve a second term. That will leave the Democratic National Committee to appoint a candidate of their choosing, thus taking all voting out of the people's hands. The person chosen is going to be Gavin Newsom. I've been saying this. I've been repeating this, not every single night because I don't want you getting bored with the show, but it's got to be repeated enough so that people start to realize. Gavin Newsom put this out. Help me defeat Donald Trump. This was last night. Help me defeat Donald Trump. Not help Joe Biden defeat Donald Trump. Not help the Democrats defeat Donald Trump. Help me defeat Donald Trump. I think it's a little foreshadowing. And all it's up there with this post that Trump put up about Newsom, calling him a new scum and basically, trashing everything about him in California. But do you not see this as help me defeat Donald Trump? And if you've seen the movie Civil War, the president in that movie you know, while everybody immediately thinks of Trump, the hair and the style of the hair and could be Gavin Newsom, just saying. And I'm just saying that to, I guess, lighten the mood a little bit. But he's got, this is from Act Blue. Act Blue is the major online fundraising source for Democrats. So he's fundraising to defeat Donald Trump already. Is that a message we should maybe pay attention to? I don't know. Let me know what you think. And that kind of ties everything together, I guess, ties it all up. Trump's in trouble. He's in trouble because the polls. Now, the polls, let me talk about that for a second. All right. Let me just. Your browser has lost connection to your screen share audio. Okay, I just saw the note. I just flipped back over and saw the note. My browser lost connection to screen share audio. How long ago did that happen? Hello, everybody. 100% Black Rogue. How are you? Nancy McMonarch, not going away. Hey, Ma. Hot Mess Summer. How are you? Anybody else I missed? VG. Both parties are two wings of the same bird. The left and the right are in it together. Okay. All right. I see that, Nancy McMonarch. Okay. Yeah. Could be right. He could make it to Barron's graduation and then be up in Minnesota in time because he's got that plane that his supporters pay for. So, yeah, could be. All right. Okay. Hey, people. Hey, vote. We're gonna have to make a choice. You know, it's and at the moment the choice is obvious: Trump or not Trump. You know, people aren't going to be voting for Joe Biden. They're going to be voting against Donald Trump. The majority of the voters that vote that way. All right. What I want to talk about the polls, not the primary poll I've been talking about tonight, but the polling, because you hear Trump's leading in the polls, Biden's leading in the polls. I've been in politics. I understand polling. I was part of all of that, and the way polling works is normally the only people polled are those that have a landline. So if you only have a cell phone, you're not ever going to be called to be part of some political poll. It's just not. And generally, they only poll registered voters and registered voters that are likely to vote the way they want the poll to come out. So when you hear a poll, Trump's leading by 10%. Well, who conducted the poll? How was the poll conducted? What questions were asked? And who were the 1,500 people that you are basing this on? Because that's what it is. It's 15 to 3,500 people is the sample size. So this polling thing is just you have to wait until the votes come, and the votes were here in Indiana tonight. And let me see if I can pull that story back up. In case you just joined us, here's what we started out with. That this might be slightly updated since the last time. It is updated. 98% of the vote is now in, and Nikki Haley is at 22% of the vote. Again, she hasn't campaigned. She didn't ask anybody here to vote for her. They're not voting for her. They're voting against Donald Trump. People in that are supposed to be his base are voting against him, and it's a potential. It's really bad news for Trump. It's a major potential problem for the country. Also, potential big problem for the country. And I haven't mentioned this, but I've talked before about General Mike Flynn, and how Mike Flynn is constantly talking about Trump getting assassinated. Well, Mike Flynn now is going to have felony indictments against him. I believe it's 8 felony indictments are coming down against him out of Arizona. So he's going to have his own legal battles to fight. I don't think he's going to fight any legal battles. I think he's going to call for the uprising, if you will. And I think that's where it's going to come from. I don't think Trump's going to call for it. I think I think the judge will find Trump in contempt of court and sentence him to jail. I think he will tell Trump that once you can sit in this, you can continue to sit in this trial as the defendant and sit there quietly. But as of right now, when this trial ends, you have 3 days in jail for contempt of court. And if you keep talking and breaking the order that you're not supposed to talk about witnesses or jurors or court authorities, and you can talk about anything else. It's not like they're telling him you can't speak at all. He just either intentionally or can't control himself and unintentionally keeps breaking the rules. So I'm looking for the judge to say, you're going to go to jail when this trial is over. And you're going to go to jail for 3 days in contempt of court. Whether you're found innocent or guilty in this trial, you're going to jail for 3 days. And if you keep doing what you've been doing, I'm going to keep adding days on. I think that's how it'll play out. Everybody's talking like, okay, you know, the judge finds him guilty and Trump's not in court anymore. He's sitting in jail while the court's going on. I don't think the judge is going to let that happen, because that would open things up to an appeal much easier than sending him to jail once the trial's completed. And I think that's probably what will end up happening there, if that does happen, because the judge has warned him. And what did he do? He went out and put out another, typical Trump post. So I want everybody to vote. I really do. Even though it can feel like it's meaningless at this time. By the time we get to November, who knows where we're at. So if you have the opportunity to vote in your primaries, vote in your primaries. All right, the final thing I wanted to talk about. Why would anyone prep? Well, I just mentioned that, I wouldn't be surprised if General Mike Flynn didn't put out the call for similar to January 6th, only not in a centralized location. Just put a call out for everybody to rise up. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. That's why that's a reason to prep. Okay. I wouldn't be surprised if Trump, who's known for his stand back, stand by quote in the primaries, or I'm sorry, in the debates before the 2020 election. And we saw January 6th, peaceful protest, as some will still state. I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't put that call out and get desperate, especially if he hears he's one of these guys that acts really, really tough, and it's an act. If he actually gets 3 days in jail, um, he's liable to call for a revolution in the country. That's why you would prep. We've got enemies from China, Russia, Iran, now Palestine and Hezbollah. We've got Mexican cartels. We've got North Korea. We've got a whole lot of people that want to vote us off the island. That's why you might want to prep. We've got some students that are becoming Islamic really quickly. Not sure if they understand what it really means, but yet they're impressionable and influenceable. Could there be a Muslim uprising in the United States led by students of this country? Absolutely, there could. It's a reason to prep. Now, a couple of things. You should be prepared to stay in your house or wherever your apartment, whatever it may be. You should be prepared to stay there if you find yourself, quarantined or whatever it may be, where you cannot leave your house. An electromagnetic pulse takes out the car, takes out the electricity, takes out anything electrical. You can't move. You're at your house. You don't have anything. Everybody's going to be rushing to the nearest grocery store, supermarket, looting, trying to get whatever they can to survive if you haven't prepared. A lot easier chance getting killed in that situation right in the first 72 hours when people realize the power's not coming back on. That's why you prepare. You need to be prepared in case you have to get out of your house for whatever reason. You got all your stuff at your place. Put it in 2 groups. The most essential things, the things that you have to have, medications, things like that, whatever to you is essential. You keep that on the top of the pile, because if you got to get out quick for whatever reason it may be, you grab that and you get out. Everything else becomes non-essential. If you're going to be staying at home, you got a little more supply. You're a little better supplied. What do you need? Well, that's up to you. The basics are going to be water and non-perishable foods, and probably some sort of radio, so you get some information, so you know what's happening, if there is information even available. And I've mentioned those that don't know and don't want to know. And if you're a biblical person, Noah's Ark, when Noah was building the ark, everybody laughed at him, of course. And then it came time to shut the doors, and he shut the doors. And the other people were not prepared. Well, those that don't know and don't want to know are going to be like the people that are not prepared, banging on the door, begging somebody for help, and making themselves completely vulnerable, either to abuse or supplication or injury or death. That's why people would prepare. If you're a ball player, if you've been an athlete, or even if not, if you know, the NFL, their games don't start until the middle of August. Right now they're preparing, because you don't want to get the day before a game and not have any idea what you're doing. If you're a musician, and you got a gig coming up. Find out on Monday, you got a gig on Friday, and you got to learn 30 songs. You make sure your equipment's ready. You practice the 30 songs. You rehearse with the band if you can, which you will. You'll get a shot rehearsing with the band. And then Friday night, the gig comes and you've prepared. Now, there are those that don't prepare. There are those that show up for the gig, don't know the songs, the equipment's not working, and it's everybody else's fault, of course. There are guys that show up for the games, show up when it's time to play the games. They're out of shape. They don't know the plays. They're unprepared. They don't succeed. That's why anyone would prep. It's not about predictions. It's not about prophecies. It's not about wanting to be right or needing to be right or desiring to be right. Let me repeat. I don't want any of the things that I see coming to come. None. Not a single one. I got grandbabies. I got a lot of life left. I showed you last night, 98-year-old woman doing gymnastics on the parallel bars. I don't talk about what I see coming because I want it to come. I talk about what I see coming because I care about people, and I feel like I got a responsibility. It's like, I'd be guilty if I didn't tell people what I saw coming, potentially, allegedly, whatever disclaimers. This is going to be a long summer. It's going to be a hot summer. Some of us have experienced summers of intensity. I mentioned last night, I thought this might be the summer of Scientology because major protests going on and some incredible characters and how, we had this summer of injustice or the summer of justice with Breonna Taylor, with Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then we had the summer of the Chuds with the 1776 Restoration Movement and those in opposition, and incredibly entertaining summer season for those of us that are primarily geared to online and do not watch a whole lot of things on television. It was a great series, and I thought this might be the summer of Scientology, but I don't think it's going to be. And Chris and I are going to talk about that coming up Monday night at 9. So I've been on almost for an hour now. I'm 2 minutes short, a minute short of an hour, and that's a good time to say thank you all very much for watching. Telescope, thanks for being here, man. Let's see. The Fallout television show said the ultimate truth. Everything is a product. Even the end of the world is a product. I'm not gonna discount that at all. My gosh, think about it. Aging is a natural process, but how much money is spent on anti-aging? We drive our cars. We have car insurance. We have our homes or apartments. We've got those insured. We got our health insured. We got everything insured because we never know what's going to happen, and for a lot of us, nothing ever happens. So yeah, the product, everything is a product, and the end of the world. Do I think? I think. I think United States is. We're at the precipice of a potential crisis. Do I think this is the end of the world? I really don't. I really don't. And that's why I keep saying this is about being prepared to get through whatever it may be, because there is a future. And for those that think, oh, this is the end of the world, I had a good life, I might as well, I'll be happy dying. Okay, that's that's your choice. That's not mine. Nancy McMonarch, Gavin's at that Obama advantage. He's young, he's energetic, and most Americans don't know who he is. That's why he's going to be the Democratic candidate when Biden steps down. Pat Tolliver, thank you for being here. Again, 100%, all of you, thank you so much for being here. Greatly appreciated. I'll be back on tomorrow night at 11. We'll talk about some more stuff. Chris will be with me coming up Friday night at 9 p.m. And until then, love you all like chocolate chip cookies. Peace. Positive vibrations to everybody. It is a dark world. Try to be a light. Thanks for watching.